Good day, Bermuda. Good day, members of the media and others in our presence. I have this week announced some of our future leaders. They are fantastic people, and I cannot wait to see them taking their seats in the House of Assembly, getting on with the work of making Bermuda a better place for all of us. Today, the faces before you are more familiar. Scott Pearman was elected 2 years ago, but in that short time, he has made a very considerable impact on Bermuda and our politics. Not least, he has been tireless in pursuing an independent investigation into the Department of Child and Family Services. Sadly, the Attorney General, a PLP candidate in this election, has not done so. She has failed our vulnerable children. He will again be standing in Constituency 22. To my left and your right, Susan Jackson was first elected in 2012 and has been the party whip. She also has been tireless in her support of our seniors and a keen advocate for the environment. Susan will be standing in Constituency 20. They are part of our team, exciting team, new team, moving Bermuda forward. A team that is the right choice and that will do better than this current administration. I'm not going to make a long speech today, but I'm going to address some issues the Premier talked about this morning. It is evident, and I'm tired of the Premier's attempt of rewriting history and misrepresenting the OBA's record. He is working on the principle that if you repeat a lie enough times, it becomes the truth. We did not double the debt. We did not lose 2,000 jobs during time in government. It is very clear and plain. No one in Bermuda can deny that the OBA created jobs. We created jobs through the America's Cup. Those jobs were across the board, from tourism to construction. We created new jobs with hotels, the St. Regis, which is continuing on, the Lauren, and they continue to employ Bermudians. The airport has created jobs for Bermudians and continues to do so. And I, myself, look forward to the new premises of the airport for our Bermudians who have been working under deplorable conditions up until today. Did anyone notice today that the Premier said the PLP had created 700 new jobs? Didn't he just say earlier this week, 600 jobs? Will it be 1,000 by we reach tomorrow or next week? The Premier likes to cherry pick numbers and fling them around in a desperate attempt to make his record look better. Bermuda, we are the better choice. We will continue and will do better than this current administration. And with that, I give you Susan Jackson.
Good afternoon, Bermuda. Good afternoon, opposition leader, media, and the constituents of Pembroke Southwest. We have a road to travel, and it's going to take each and every one of us to put our best foot forward every day. It takes a strong moral compass to commit to Parliament, and it's for this reason that I ask the constituents of Pembroke Southwest to continue to support the One Bermuda Alliance. It's going to take strength. It's going to take a lot of strength for us to recover quickly from the effects of COVID-19. It's going to take commitment to do what's right for Bermuda. And it's going to take discipline to keep our faith, our health, and our financial security. My responsibility in Parliament is to make sure that our laws reflect the strength of our island in recovery and in times of prosperity. And it's our responsibility in Parliament to make sure that our laws are fair and inclusive. I have a vision for Bermuda, and that is to let's get this right. We have, as a country, we have to commit to keeping our environment clean and sustainable. We have to treat each other with fairness and respect each other regardless of our age, our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, or nationality. We have got to get this right. People like to come to Bermuda just to be surrounded by this delicate balance of what is right and fair and healthy. That's the vision, and the One Bermuda Alliance is the party that can get us there. We're a collection of successful professionals from all walks of life. We know how to earn that cash income that Bermuda so desperately needs. It's not about sophisticated methods of how to borrow other people's money. The One Bermuda Alliance knows how to earn an honest income. I've been deeply involved in Parliament now for 7 years. I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. I've had to endure the political banter when we just needed to get the job done right. Parliament needs to clean up its act. We need to make sure that our laws are fair and right and strengthen the island moving forward. It's going to take a new way of thinking. It's going to take all hands on deck to get this country right. As your candidate for Pembroke Southwest, my sleeves are rolled up. I continue to support you and Bermuda. Thank you.
Okay. Not sure how I follow that, but thank you. Thank you, Susan. Just over 2 years ago, I sat in this room and was rolled out as the new candidate for the by-election in Paget East, Constituency 22. The people of Paget East elected me to serve them and to serve Bermuda as a whole. I have tried to do so to the very best of my ability. I have tried to do so with integrity and with no small amount of effort. In 2018, I joined the House of Assembly as the newbie. This allowed me to view Parliament with fresh eyes. And what I saw was the need for change. Change so that in the future, our leaders work together to solve our island's problems. Change so that in the future, our MPs and our senators take decisions which are in the interests of all Bermudian, not just one segment of our community. Change so that in future, we may recognize we have more in common with each other than that which divides us. 2 years in, I'm still a newbie, relative newbie, but this week the OBA has already rolled out several new candidates for the House of Assembly. Candidates who, like me, believe in the need for change. Candidates who believe that our politics and our politicians can and must be better. Many more new candidates will be rolled out by the One Bermuda Alliance in the coming days. These candidates bring with them their life experience and in many cases specific expertise that Bermuda needs in education, in job creation, in healthcare. These are the very real challenges we face in our immediate and present future. And these new candidates bring a strong belief that Bermuda deserves better from our politicians. So yes, there is hope for our future. Importantly, the OBA's 3 years in opposition has bonded us together as a team and taught us that we must do better. But even more importantly, this new OBA team is a team that wants to win, not for ourselves, but for Bermuda as a whole, for one Bermuda. The past 2 decades have witnessed an economic decline previously unknown to Bermudians. Our debt is so large, almost $3 billion, that we have difficulty understanding what that actually means. What does that mean for each and every one of us? Well, it means this. If we don't fix it, Bermuda may not have a bus service. It may not have a ferry service. It may not have trash collection. We cannot continue to live on borrowed time. And there has been social decline as well. Our social fabric is badly damaged, and it needs mending now. A key example of this is the allegations of abuse and neglect against Bermudian children at the Department of Child and Family Services. I ask this: why hasn't there been a full and proper independent investigation? Is this the type of community that we want for our future? Things need to change. The One Bermuda Alliance is running on the promise that we will do better. We will do better for one simple reason: Bermuda deserves better. The stark reality is that Bermuda needs all of us to work together to face the tough economic challenges that lay ahead. Please, you can be a part of this change. And we, the One Bermuda Alliance, we will do better. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sept Hendrickson. I'm a former Legal Gazette. I was wondering if excuse me, if the constituents can please explain what sort of issues you think are specific to your constituencies, and how do you hope to fix them with the election?
Generally speaking, for Pembroke Southwest, there are a number of environmental issues, and I say that with a broad umbrella, but there are many sort of specifics that fall under that. So it could be anything around, sort of the Bermuda Plan draft and how we are laying out and growing our infrastructure. It could be around and is concern for how we're managing waste management, as well as where we're going in the future around our electricity supply and coming up with and using sustainable energy. And so I would venture to say that that is one of our bigger umbrella issues within the constituency right now. And keeping in mind that we do not exactly border the Bermuda Electric Light Company, but are right under its immediate umbrella. So that's.
Okay, and sorry. Mr. Pearman?
Thank you. Second. Yeah, hi.
Oh, hi.
No problem.
I was wondering if you could explain what sort of issues you see that are particular to your constituency,
Right.
And what you hope to do to kind of combat those.
So 2 years ago, I ran a by-election in that constituency, and I canvassed the vast majority of that constituency, and I'm canvassing again now for this election. And funnily enough, things haven't really changed in terms of what I'm hearing. The only difference is that 2 years ago, the number one word on people's mouths on the doorstep was education. Right now, it's the economy. In terms of local issues, funny enough, the number one local issue that I get is garbage, because people put their bags out when they're not supposed to, the rats or the chickens tear them, the garbage is on the road, etc. So garbage collection, and once a week garbage collection is the sort of local issue. In addition, there are some dilapidated former tourism hotel properties. There's Harmony Hall, there's the White Sands Hotel at the end there. Those are empty and derelict, and those are issues, or not entirely derelict. Were people living in Harmony Hall. But those are problems, local problems, and it's a shame that those haven't been converted for other uses.
Anyone else? Oh, back to me.
A question I asked this morning at the other press conference was regarding social insurance payments and pension payments. We know that there's practically nothing going into those funds this year, with our population, senior population, looking to be 25% in a few years' time. How much further do you think we can carry on not paying into those funds?
Well, there are different issues with the different funds, right? The biggest issue is the public sector pension, which is somewhere in the mid-30s funded, i.e. somewhere 65% or thereabouts unfunded. So how are we going to pay? We all know we have an aging population. how are we going to pay those pensions when these people retire? We've borrowed from that. You know, the government has been enabling people to borrow against their own personal pensions, which is different than the government pension. That's obviously something, those are rainy day funds, and it's raining. So you understand why people have been given the opportunity to draw down their own pension monies. But that's taking their future money and spending it in the present. And the problem with that is then there's no money in the future. So those are concerns. This is an unprecedented time in terms of COVID. And some of the delays or hiatuses that businesses and others have been allowed for social insurance payments and health insurance, not health insurance, but business social insurance is understandable because people have to be able to keep the lights on and try and keep people employed, or if they're laid off, to at least try to meet their health insurance. But there's only so long that can last. So I think we're all hoping that somebody finds a vaccine for COVID and we can get on with it. But we've gone through this, but we're not out of the woods yet. And there is going to be a very serious economic problem on the far end. Thanks, Don.
I know like in the U.S., the actuarial services have estimated, like if the U.S. continues to pull from those funds or not have people paying to those funds, they estimate in 2024 there won't be any money for their seniors. So how long can Bermuda continue along this path, taking from the future?
I think there have been projections, certainly in relation to the public sector pension, as to how long that can last. And it's not that long. I'm a lawyer, not an actuary, and we all know lawyers aren't very good with numbers. We're wordsmiths. No, I mean, this can't go on forever. We have to wake up to the reality. And if we pass financial burdens on, who are we passing them on to? Mm-hmm. We're passing them on to the next generation and the generation after that. And that can't continue because it's just tying up our children's future. And that's just not fair.
On the mics there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jasmine.
So you've had to mature politically in quite a short amount of time. Legislatively, what do you hope to prioritize should you be successful in your constituency again?
So legislatively, the One Bermuda Alliance has a couple of bills in the pipeline that we intend to introduce as bills, either as government bills or, if we're not successful, as opposition bills. These are bills that we believe will improve Bermuda. Specifically, we have been looking at bills involving the environment, involving issues of equity and equality in the workforce, and involving financial issues and fraud. There are others that are in development, particularly Susan has been working on some of these as well. So those are probably the ones that are in the immediate pipeline. But we have to try to identify how to firstly restore Bermuda economically, but also how to restore Bermuda socially, because you can't do one without the other. Economic competence is one thing, and I think the OBA has a good reputation for economic competence, but we need social compassion as well.
Yeah. I'll just add to that. I think it's fair to say that if we do not find ways to increase our GDP, if we do not find ways to increase our productivity here in Bermuda, and we continue to borrow money, we are eventually going to inflate the market, and you're going to see terrible consequences of that. We cannot afford to continue on borrowing, and not producing. This will lead us into another serious homegrown recession. And that's what we don't want to pass on to our young people coming up in Bermuda. We should be passing on to them a sounder, more solid foundation. That's why it was imperative when we became government in 2012 to balance the budget, to cut our cost so that young people are not having to foot the bill of this borrowing that continues to go on.
And just for Ms. Susan Jackson, with your 7 years experience in this seat, there's been a few more experienced MPs to step down from the party. Do you feel prepared to train up the less experienced people that are coming into the fray?
Yes, and I feel confident responding on two sides of that. One is that I have spent the past 3 years or so as the government whip and then opposition whip, which has really given me a ground up understanding of the parliamentary process, and I feel much more confident in how the parliamentary procedures are taken forward and progressed. The other side has been the wonderful role modeling, and I have to go back and begin with my mother, Louise Jackson. She's coached me since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and having the likes of Pat Gordon-Pamplin and Jean Atherton by my side the entire way. Jean actually was the one who introduced me to the political arena and not Louise Jackson, my mother. So that's how close it's been. And yes, I absolutely feel as though there is this clearing and an opportunity to now really show the strengths of a next generation. And it's based on all of the wonderful skills, talents, strategies, and maneuvers that our experienced team has left with us. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I just have two more questions. This is really just open to the floor, but the Progressive Labour Party still had quite a bit of momentum from their landslide victory in 2017, and also as well as the public support that the Premier has gotten from his way that he handled the pandemic. I was wondering, what can the OBA do to convince people that they can win the election after the momentum that the PLP currently has?
Certainly, 2511 is a long way to go in anyone's estimation. But what we are showing you is that the One Bermuda Alliance is alive and well. We're showing that through our new candidates. We're looking at new and innovative ways as we move Bermuda forward. And we have a track record as well. We were very successful when we were government at moving the economy along. We have included in that a very strong, as we roll out our platform, social program as well. We have the integrity of the process and the people that are involved with the One Bermuda Alliance and the expertise to ensure that we can get the confidence, not only of Bermudians, but get the confidence of those who would like to invest in Bermuda, that we can move the island forward. There are so many ways that we are looking at being able to do that, and we will roll out those specific programs to the public with our platform very shortly. At present, what we are doing now is showing the expertise that we have in the room, so you can go through their bios, you can ask them questions, and then we will be rolling out our platform that you will see the many, many ideas that we have in moving this island forward. As again, we have shown you in the past that we can do it, and we know we can do it again.
And I think finally, this can go to Mr. Candler since the mic is on you. Mr. Dunkley posted on Facebook last night, quote, "We rise by lifting others," and some interpreted that as him suggesting that that we make way for a young candidate. Can you confirm that this is the case?
We rise by?
We rise by lifting others, and some interpreted this as a suggestion to make way for younger candidates.
Sure. I feel that's a message of working together, cohesiveness. That's what I see it as. I'm not sure who you're talking to that's perceiving it that way, of talking about making way for new people or new blood, if you want to call it that. That is a progress and a process that should happen in any organization, whether it be politics or business. But I believe that message really gets to the heart of we rise together. In working together in a cohesive manner, we can do a whole lot. And I think what we are beginning to see, and I will pivot here and tell you I'm pivoting here, it concerns me that in politics we've seen so much bad happening to people who get involved in politics. I think you just need to read the tea leaves there. We just recently had this morning a rollout in Constituency 25. So the incumbent is moving. He's running from that seat and he's going somewhere else. Okay? Just go back a week now. Unfortunately, we have a PLP member, Ralph Commission, who has been, in my estimation, brutally asked to step down. His character tarnished. His family now has to deal with this. And this was not done by him. This was done by the Premier. He could have simply asked Ralph, don't run this election. Why did we have to go through the charade of exposing all kinds of things that he said himself, Ralph, that it had been settled? Why? You need to be asking that question, Bermuda. There is a track record there. Ask the Premier about that track record. Ask him about Tawana Wedderburn. Ask him about Mark Bean. Ask him about Nalitha Butterfield, a social activist. Ask him about Paula Cox. These people are a trail of the Premier, quite frankly, removing these people in devastation. Now, I can say that I've not always been a great fan of Ralph, but he can attest to the many speeches that he made lately in the House of Assembly, where I actually got up and I said, Ralph, I agree with you. You've got it, and you're hitting it right on the head. We have got to move away from these attacks that are going on and cannibalizing one another. We all have families. And this politics today and the OBA is about moving together. And what you just read, that quote, is about us coming together for the betterment of Bermuda, not destroying one another.
I think to follow up with that, since you mentioned that you believe that younger wage should be paid for younger generations to be included in politics and really any sort of sector.
Sure.
Does the OBA hope to unveil or bring in newer candidates and fresher faces for this coming election?
Well, the last two rollouts, that's what you've seen.
Yes.
And you'll continue to see that. Okay. Oh,
This morning I asked the Premier, and I'll ask you the same question. The BTA released their statistics for the second quarter, which we knew wasn't going to be good because the airport was closed. But only $70,000 in income compared to $98 million the previous year. What would the OBA government do differently going forward in this COVID situation?
sure. Yeah, you know, I had a great talk with Glenn from the BTA just as of yesterday, actually, last evening. And we were talking about some of the plans and ideas that the authority has. And it was quite stimulating, actually, to hear that they had very similar plans as to what the OBA had while it was government and was advancing those. And one of the areas that we can take advantage of is the large sporting events. We have done a great job with handling COVID, so I give kudos to Bermuda, the administration, on how we have handled COVID. I just the other day met a couple from the United States who came here solely because of how we handled COVID, and they were enjoying Bermuda. But the direction that we now need to start looking at is, and I asked the question, one of the challenges was being able to get people tested before they come here in a specified time. And I asked the question, well, maybe could we set up an office ourselves in some of the gateway cities like Massachusetts and New York, Florida and the likes, and we could actually have a hub there where you could go and get tested before you get on the plane to come to Bermuda to help streamline the process. But on the other end, in generating revenue, it was very clear when I talked to the BTA last night that we were talking about very similar things, and that is, as it is difficult, we need to continue to press the message that while COVID has damaged just about the world, this is a safe place to come. Keep pressing the message. It will be a slow slog to get there, and let's start opening up our borders to some of these great sporting events that we had seen in the past, like the America's Cup, like the triathlon that we've seen. There are other smaller events that we could be putting on that will bring more people here. And we have shown that we can handle them, manage them, and we've shown now that we can manage them safely.
There's been a bit of a churn in as you move to younger people. Have you already identified people who you think could step into senior leadership roles with people like Pat Gordon-Pamplin and Trevor Monis stepping down?
Yeah, again, as we roll out, I think it will become evident of the mix of our experience and new coming in. That will always be something that we will continue to do. You have experience in many areas of leading Bermuda, not just in politics. We can learn the politics, but if you can bring to the table Also, as a new person, new and innovative ideas, that's what's going to progress our political movement forward. We need to see politics moving forward with the rest of the world and with our economics. What you see now is age-old politics trying to fit in new wineskin per se, and we need to progress that. And the only way you progress that is getting new people in as we have our experience passing on. And that's what you have here, experience being passed on to us, and now we will pass on that experience to the new people coming in. We've seen it happen before. We saw it done in 1998, and now you're going to see it done in 2020.
Thank you. My last two questions for Ms. Jackson.
Mhm.
As your 7 years serving as an MP, what would you say is your most significant achievement for your constituency?
I'm going to say that one of my greatest achievements has been the camaraderie and the relationships that have been formed around the neighbors themselves. And some of it has come out of what may have begun as a negative. In 2012, there was a much greater sensitivity to security, and so organizations such as neighborhood watches became quite familiar within the constituency. A number of neighborhood watches were established. They're still ongoing, and they have now grown into relationships within neighborhoods where people have formed support for one another when it's had anything to do with building renovation, changes to planning within the within the constituency, etc. So I would say that probably the greatest accomplishment so far has been the establishment of not only one-on-one relationships with constituents, but that we've been able to really come together as communities and several pockets of communities within the respective neighborhoods.
Thank you. And my last question is, since your environment is a major concern of yours, if the OBA is elected, what is one significant change that you would like to see?
Well, my first, and I've been like knocking on the door, is, what are we going to do with Bermuda Electric Light Company? And when are we going to make the decision regarding Algonquin, and where are we going? Concerned about some of the toxins that we're allowed to use in Bermuda, and making sure that we are scrutinizing and making sure that we're not allowing dangerous chemicals into the island and causing any concern or threat to people or animals or our vegetation on the island. So I believe that those would probably be two of my main first issues that I'd like to adopt within the environment domain.
All right, thank you.